Alright, as you can see, we are going to talk about solving rational equations. Now, some of you missed this on the factoring, the solving by factoring, the solving by completing the square that we did previously. But solving means that you need to have x equals something, a number. And that number tells you where on the graph does that hit the x-axis. So whether it is a parabola, whether it's a line, whether it's a zigzag, whatever x equals, that helps us out in letting us know one for sure point on the graph. Okay, we're not going to worry about the graph so much, but we are going to worry about figuring out what that x equals. Okay, let's get it going. Alright, so there's two sort of methods to go about this. You get the same answer, it's just two different ways of thinking about it. So it's not necessarily one method is better than the other, or one method works better. It's just whichever works best with the way that you think about things. So I did this for a long time, this kind of method. To just go for it. Okay? And the only problem with this method is that you have to be really careful to be aware of the rules of math, and not to do any illegal actions. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite my equation that I've got. Equals x over 3. Now, just like any other equation, I want to get that x by itself. So how do I do that? Well, I know that over 3 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/3. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to multiply by 3, and that'll get rid of that 3. Multiply by 3 there on both sides. 3 times 2 is 6 over 5, and I've still got that x left on this side. There we go. There's our answer. Not so bad. Alright, this one's going to add a couple of steps in there with it, though. With that division in there, it does turn things up a little bit. Alright, your first step is going to be to do that division. Okay, so let's check that out. X minus 4 over 4 multiplied by the reciprocal, 3 over x. There's nothing that I can cancel. Those x's have to stay. The 3's and the 4's can't cancel. The 4's and the 4's can't cancel. Nothing really helps out. Don't forget to bring the entire equation with you, though. Alright, so multiplying straight across, I'm going to distribute that 3. So I get 3x minus 12 all over 4x. And that equals 6. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not a big fan of fractions. So my first step is going to be to get rid of the fraction. Okay, and the only way you can get rid of a fraction is to bring it to the top. So, just like I did up here, to get that 3 out of there, I multiplied by it on both sides. We are going to do the same exact thing down here. As soon as I get it to actually go down there. Holy moly. Alright. So, I'm going to multiply by that bottom number. By that 4x. Alright, that's going to cancel that 4x on the bottom, which gets rid of it, exactly like what I wanted to do. Leaves me with a 3x minus 12 equals 6 times 4 is 24, and I've got that x multiplied in there too. Oh, it still won't let me go down. Alright, I'll just bring that up. Okay, now this is just like any other equation that you have ever solved in your entire algebra career. You want the x's all on one side, and then you want to get those x's by themselves. So, subtracting 3x, because that's my smaller one and I like doing that, negative 12 equals 21x. Need to get that x by itself, so I divide by 21. So x equals negative 12 over 21. And I notice that that can be reduced, so I'm going to reduce it. Divide by a 3 and divide by a 3. So divide by a 3 on top, you get negative 4. Divide by a 3 on bottom, you get a 7. Alright? These ones are looking a little messy. I made them up kind of off the top of my head, so forgive me for that. But the ones on your homework should end up a little bit nicer. But you guys shouldn't be intimidated by fractions. You know fractions well enough to not be so scared of them. Okay? -4/7, final answer. Alright. Let's talk method 2. Method 2, I call it the denominating method because it is kind of awesome. And I kind of just learned how to do it. And I'm going to share it with you. Okay? Here's how you do it. You find the least common denominator of the entire equation. So this one's going to be easy. Since we have a 1 and a 4, my least common denominator would just be 4. Because that is the smallest thing that I can get. So then, what I do is I multiply by the least common denominator on both sides. So, if I have 4 times x minus 4 over 4 equals 6 over 1, if you want to write that part, times 4. So, my 4 times my x minus 4, those 4's will cancel. So it's almost as if I never even multiplied by the 4 on that side. But you have to multiply by the 4 on that side, because when you do it to one side, you have to do it to the other. Okay? My 6 times 4 here, I get 24. I'm going to write that over here. So I get 24 on that side, and on this side, I get x minus 4. Alright, now this is like any other equation you have ever solved in your entire math career. Just get that x all by its lonesome. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. X equals 28. There we go. We have an x equals and a number. So we know that we're done. Alright, let's try this other one. It's got a little bit different of a least common denominator. When you have variables that are being added on the bottom, my suggestion to you is to make your least common denominator the multiplication of your two bottoms. So my least common denominator for this one is going to be 2 times x plus 1. So I'm going to multiply by that on both sides. So 3 over 2, and I'm going to multiply by 2 times x plus 1 equals 2x over x plus 1 times 2 times x plus 1. Okay. I'm going to get rid of those little parentheses. Those are bugging me. Okay. Now, since I have a 2 on bottom here and a 2 on top there, and every chunk is being multiplied, I can cancel. Same thing with the x minus 1 and the x minus 1 there. Leaving me with a whole line without denominators. So I've got that 3, and I've got that x plus 1 left, equals 2x, and I've got a 2 left. I don't have any denominators left. That's why I love this method, because you can get rid of those denominators, which really throws a lot of people off, having those on the bottom there. Alright, so now you just solve like any other equation. We're going to distribute that out. 3x plus 3 equals, that gives me a 4x. If I subtract 3x, because that's the smaller, I get 3 equals x. I've got x equals a number. Wham bam, I'm done. Not too shabby. Let's try some more. Alright, we have reached the point in the video where you get to try stuff. So, if you need to pause the video and try it on your own, please do so. It is not helpful for you to just see me going through everything for you. It's more helpful if you try it on your own and then check your mistakes. So, I'm going to walk through it, but if you are ready to try it, you can pause the video now. Okay. I like the method 2. So after I learned it, I was like, boy, that is the easiest thing you could ever do. So I like that method. So I'm going to say my least common denominator is 7 times n plus 8. Alright, so then I'm going to multiply that on both sides. And it's legal because I'm doing it to both sides. So I've got n minus 5 over n plus 8 equals 2 over 7. And I'm going to multiply on this side 7 times n plus 8. Multiply on this side 7 times n plus 8. Alright, now we cancel what we can cancel. N plus 8's on bottom, top, 7's on bottom and top. So I've got this 7 left over, and then n plus 5. So 7 times n minus 5, and 2 times n plus 8. Alright, so now we solve, just like any other equation. Alright, I'm going to bring it over this way. Okay, so we had 7 times n minus 5 equals 2 times n plus 8. Distribute 7n minus 35 equals 2n plus 2 times 8, 16. Alright, I'm going to get my n's all on one side. So I'm going to subtract 2n, knowing that that's going to be my easier. 7 minus a 2n gives me a 5n. Okay. And I've still got my, minus 35 equals 16 is what's left on that side. So I'm going to add 35 to both sides. 5n equals 6 and 5, 11, 3, 4, 5, 51. So it's kind of messy. But you guys aren't afraid of fractions. N equals 51/5. Final answer, can't reduce. Alright. Next one. So if you're ready to try, go ahead and pause it and I'll get the next one going. Alright. My least common denominator for this one is the multiplication of my bottoms, 10x. So I'm going to multiply by that on both sides. So x minus 3 over x equals 9 over 10. Multiply by 10 times x on both sides. 10 times x. Alright. Notice I put my parentheses around my x minus 3. I did that because that's the whole quantity that's being divided here. If I just multiply my x by that, that's not going to work out. Okay. Now I cancel my bottoms. So I've got a 10, 10, and an x and an x. That'll always work if you figure out your correct least common denominator. Alright. What I've got left is 10 times x minus 3 equals 9 times x. So I've got 10x minus 30 equals 9x. Alright, moving on. Getting my x's all on one side. So I've got an x minus 30 equals, remembering that if you have something and you take it away, you have nothing left. Add 30 to both sides. You get x equals 30. Wham bam, good and done. I've got x equals a number, so I know I have solved. Alright, one more and then you can get going on homework. Alright, same deal. If you are ready to go and ready to get going on homework, or not homework, ready to try this on your own, do so and then you can check your answer with the video. Least common denominator here, I'm going to give this negative to the top, just to that 8. So I'm going to say my least common denominator is 6x. Okay, so then I have 4 over 6 equals negative 8 over x. When you have a negative in front of everything, that means you can give it to either the top or the bottom. Because if you had both being negative, then you would have a negative divided by a negative. That gives you a positive, so that wouldn't be right. Alright. So, least common denominator is 6x, so I'm going to multiply by that on both sides. And cancel my bottoms, x and x, 6 and 6. Left with 4 times x equals negative 8 times 6, so a negative 48. Divide by 4 to get my x by itself, x equals a negative 12. I've got x equals the number I know I have solved. Alright, so if you have any questions, let me know. If you have any concerns, whatever you need, just let me know. If you haven't gotten factoring down yet, it's still important to know, even though we haven't done any today. It's still important to know. Alright, if you need a paper copy, go for it. But otherwise, you can get going on the homework. Good luck!